What's up, you guys? I know it's been forever, but I'm busy. Anyway, so I have some stories that happened yesterday that are freaking nuts, man. Fucking nuts. Okay, so the first little story thing from yesterday was fucking okay. So we open at like 10 on Sundays. So around 10, we see this old guy outside in the front just moving around and just like talking to himself with a cart and just and he had like a plastic flail thing. You know the metal rod with the chain on it with the spiky ball. He's just kind of spinning around, but it was like a plastic rod, some string, and like one of those little foam balls that you can get at Michael's. So he had one of those, and he's just spinning around talking to people and saying random stuff. But then around like 10:30, I look over there after helping somebody out, and he's got a plastic cup full of like what looks like beer. He's just drinking beer over there in the front of the store. Later on, at like 12 o'clock, this guy is going through our stuff and taking stuff and putting it into his little shopping cart. So my boss goes over there, tells him you need to go, doesn't go. So he gets another manager, and both of them tell him to go and put all the stuff back. So he puts all the stuff back and leaves. And then later on, we get this customer who donates a shit ton of books. Okay, he emptied his mall because he wants the bins back, which makes no sense whatsoever. Like, okay, I get you want bins back, but if you wanted to have the bins back, you should have put the books in boxes. But whatever. Anyway, so he's donating these books, and we're trying to take all the books out of these big old bins to put into boxes so that it's nicely stacked and stuff's not all over the place. So I'm going through one of the bins, and I'm like, oh, a Hitler book. Oh, this guy's probably a Nazi. So, putting the rest of the books in there. And then somebody found Mein Kampf, and I'm like, oh, dude, I told you that guy is a fucking Nazi. He's a Nazi, and he's gonna try to steal people. Okay? But no. Fucking. So then I get down to the bottom of the barrel, and he's got freaking old medals from Germany. They're like the Nazi pins that they're no longer the same color anymore. They like faded because they're so old. So we're like, dude, this guy is a Nazi. 100%. But he also, like, the books were also like about America, and like there's a communism book. And so then thinking about it later, after being not tired anymore, I was like, you know what, this guy probably, no, he could be a Nazi like we said, or giving up being a Nazi maybe, or his grandfather had all this stuff and then he passed away, and then he got rid of it, and not knowing that those medals were there, and then his like grandfather or father or whoever took the medals of like Nazi people that they killed so that they would have stuff as memorabilia for that time they were there. So that was a more thoughtful and more like physical answer that I could come up with after the fact, So, because, well, also, in the same thing, there was, like, those old Life magazines back in, like, the day. They were, like, huge catalogs instead of the Life magazines we have now. They're like half of, like, they're, like, they're, like, this size, like, this big old thing. And then they had the original fucking newspaper from December 7th, 1941, about the bombing of Pearl Harbor. I think the newspaper said 1941, but it was basically about the Pearl Harbor. And, there was like black and white pictures of the bombings and then the countings of how many people in each of the forces died and the civilians died, and about, saying we're going to go to war to Japan with Japan and all that stuff. Like, this thing was the oldest fucking piece of history and the oldest piece of newspaper I've ever seen. And they also had a magazine of the San Andreas earthquake with San Francisco collapsing as well. But my thought after that and finding all that is like, why would you get rid of that? I mean, this guy probably didn't know that it was in there, but like, if he knew it was in there, he should have taken them out and then given it to like a history place, like, because those medals, the old Life magazines, the newspaper from, back in December about Pearl Harbor, that would have been a great thing to give the historical museums so they could preserve it and keep it in their databanks to make sure it's safe and protected. I mean, obviously, they have a bunch of that shit, but like, it'd be great for like local historical places, like historical museums around like the Bay Area, or like, it'd be great. But yeah, no, we all thought he was a Nazi. But coming to my senses, I think he got them from like a father or a great grandpa or a grandpa or somebody in his family, and he donated it and didn't realize that he donated those things that were part of his family's like history, you know what I'm saying? So like, I wish like somebody would have gone like, dude, but he left before anybody could be like, hey, you want this stuff? Did you know this stuff was in here? Do you want it? But yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. Those are the things I have for today. I was thinking if I had anything else, but I don't. Yeah, I'm gonna go now. Bye.